Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
Democrats are still trying to figure out what to make of yesterday's announcement at the press conference with Benjamin Netanyahu, where Donald Trump announced that the U.S. can take ownership of Gaza and actually bring a functioning civilization to that area. And that's the only way we're going to have a path toward peace. And he specifically said, we've got to stop repeating the same mistakes of the past, which really resonated with me because we keep hearing the same stuff from all the experts and nothing changes. No, one thing changes. More innocent people are killed and raped and kidnapped and tortured, and that's not getting us anywhere. So the left doesn't know what to make of this. They're reeling, and you know that Trump is really entertained this morning watching the reaction, I'm sure, from all the cable news programs, and hopefully he's entertained by our reaction here. But does this make sense? Is it possible? What would it look like? And will it even happen? Or is this just a gambit to sort of force the other countries in that region who are fully capable of helping to bring order to this area if they didn't just hate Israel so much? Is it really just a gambit to bring them to the table? Well, let's throw all that out and see what sticks. Victoria Coates is a former Deputy National Security Advisor to President Trump and the Vice President of Heritage Institute's National Security and Foreign Policy. Okay, Victoria Coates, take it from here. What are we to make of all of this?
Well, I might embrace the and. I think that the president is doing maybe all of these things at once. I think the most important thing in your lead-in is what you said about not repeating the mistakes of the past. And what this reminds me of more than anything else is when he made the decision to move the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, which you can remember successive American presidents from Bill Clinton through Barack Obama had promised to do. Many campaigned on it. And as did
with
President
George
Trump.
W. Bush in the middle, by the way, of that sandwich.
With George W. Bush in the middle. Signed that waiver every 6 months. And, the president studied it for a year. He got David Friedman in place as his ambassador and that said, we said we were going to do it. It's time. And we got all of the same predictions that we've heard over the last 12 hours. The sky was going to fall, the streets were going to run with blood, the Arabs were going to attack Israel. Israel didn't want this to happen, and he did it anyway, and none of those things happened.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah, I think this is very much in that same vein. He's going to try something different. He's going to try doing, what he wants to do, which is develop a really great piece of land.
This it is also true that there will be people, they will be moving the people out. He said that very clearly. Look, you can't live there. It's a disaster, right? So we got to move these people out. We've seen that the Egyptians have already rejected. They closed that bridge. You couldn't get over into Egypt. They don't want the so-called Palestinians. Jordan doesn't want the so-called Palestinians. Where will these people go? And will Trump be able to just negotiate a yes from these countries who were previously no?
I think he can, and I think he's calling their bluff because what the Egyptians and the Jordanians have said is, we don't want to displace the Palestinians from their ancestral lands, the implication being that's what Israel did. But in this case, they can't stay there. As you said, this has been completely destroyed. Yeah. And important to note, they caused it. They're the ones who started all of this. And so, that anybody with any kind of sympathy for the Palestinians should understand that they need a haven. They need somewhere to go. And, Jordan and Egypt are, some of the largest recipients of U.S. military support and financial aid. And so, if they want to keep those billions of U.S. taxpayer dollars flowing, I think they'd better find their way to yes.
Speaking with Victoria Coates at Heritage Foundation and former Deputy National Security Advisor of President Trump, is there historic precedent for this? I mean, I mentioned, we basically reconstructed Japan after World War II. We obviously had a big part with the Marshall Plan in sort of reforming Western Europe after the Nazi destruction. But those were wars that we were specifically directly engaged in. What about something like this, where there's a conflict overseas? There doesn't seem to be a resolution, a peaceful resolution to it going forward. So the United States, or maybe another nation, maybe it's not an American precedent, but another country has been able to come in and say, okay, you know what, we'll take stewardship of this land and we'll fix it. But has this been done before?
Well, Gaza is a unique territory in that it really isn't sovereign territory. Israel pulled out of Gaza, remember, in 2006, unilaterally at the behest of the George W. Bush administration. Condi Rice said, we're going to have elections. This will bring democracy to the people of Palestine, and this will solve our problems. Well, the problem then compounded because, of course, the Palestinians elected Hamas, and Israel had ceded that territory. But it's not like Japan is a country. Gaza isn't a country, so its legal status is somewhat ambiguous. It is certainly within Israel's rights to claim it if they wish to. I don't know that they would want to do that, and we have some of our legal scholars at Heritage looking at this, but there's certainly nothing prohibiting this from happening under international law or Israeli law.
I guess the last question here is, are you available, if necessary, Victoria Coates, to be the new Grand Poobah of the Gaza territories?
I think the Gaza Czar maybe has a better.
The Gaza Czar.
Well, it's kind of interesting because I did spend a year on President Trump's first-term NSC working with Jason Greenblatt and Jared Kushner on exactly this, on plans for both West Bank and Gaza. So I used to joke that I could, if you gave me enough cable, I could personally lay the 161 electric line. All these plans exist. And if you know anything about
wait, hold on. You're burying the lead here.
Yeah, she's
Victoria. The National Security Council actually had drawn up a plan under Trump 1.0 to do just this, if necessary, to take sort of private custodialship of these areas. No,
to do reconstruction projects. To do.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
To build Gaza Lago. We got it.
Yeah.
Right.
To build Gaza Marine, which is the plan for their natural gas. There's a plan for a desalination plant. There are all these things exist that needs to be done. And I think the key thing, though, is that I know President Trump has in mind is there is a lot of money in the Middle East that can pay for these things.
Yeah.
I don't think the U.S. taxpayer should worry that they're suddenly going to get a huge bill for Gaza.
Right, yes, which is what we're used to whenever we have adventures in the Middle East. That'll be refreshing. Victoria Coates, you would make a fabulous viceroy of the Gaza territories. I'm thinking something with epaulets and a sash.
Viceroy is nice.
Viceroy.
We'd like to come visit.
And it was a fine cigarette back in the day. Yeah. Thank you,
we
Victoria.
Look forward
Appreciate
to welcoming you to Gaza.
It's 8:44 from the Riviera to the sea. Happy hour drinks are free.